Good evening. I hope you are doing well on this Thursday night. It's a different time for us. It's prime time, a little bit later actually than prime time. It's 9:30. But wherever you're watching from, I hope you have had a wonderful Thursday as usual. If you will, let me know where you're watching from, wherever it is around the world, wherever you are tonight. Put it in the comments. I'd love to know where you're watching from. This is Voice of Hope Now. I am your host, D.R. Harrison, and I want to welcome everybody who's watching by way of YouTube, everybody that's watching on X, everybody that's here on Facebook, everybody that's watching through our app, and also those who will be listening to this episode today on Spotify sometime in the near future. This is episode, I believe, 26. It's hard to believe. We're already on episode 26, but it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for all the kind comments, all the wonderful emails, all the amazing messages that you've sent over the last 4 weeks, encouraging us, and just all the ones that just all the kind notes. We can't thank you enough. Let us know where you're watching from, and do us a favor and share this broadcast. We're going to be dealing with something that's somewhat controversial. I ask that you refrain from just cutting the whole notion of what I'm going to talk about off tonight. There's people on both sides of the coin, and everybody can be civil. We don't have to be jerks about anything, but I do want you to hear me out, and I am going to attempt to tell you the truth. Okay? This is what this broadcast is about, sharing hope and giving you the truth in the midst of so much deception. I've been studying this topic for a long time. I didn't just start studying this last week or a month ago. And so this has been many hours of studying and looking at it and trying to do my due diligence on this topic of cloud seeding. And so I'm going to give you a whole lot of information tonight. And you can take it and you can do with it what you wish. But I'm going to give you the truth tonight. Are people logging on? People's commenting? Okay. Yes. So do me a favor, if you're logging on, please share this. I know it's a little bit later tonight. I've been traveling all evening, and we rushed to our destination, got everything unpacked, got the hotel set up as a studio, and so it's been a wonderful day. If you have not already, we don't have the video commercials tonight because we are mobile and we're trying out something new that we're working on. But you'll see in the comments, if you haven't already, and we get asked this every day, that's why I always plug this, because it's special to us. It took us 18 months to finally get something out there, and it's got a long way to go. It's by no means where we want it. But we're so proud of our new app, and you can find it for free in your app store, whether you are an Android user, an Apple user. It doesn't really matter. It's free for both of you. Just type in DR Harrison app, go download it, and realize there are some bugs that are still in it. But we are working through that, and we ask that you give us your patience as we continue to build out the vision that we had a couple years ago. So go download the app. We'd sure appreciate it. There's a whole lot of other things too. Kylie's doing an incredible job on our YouTube channel. I believe we have gained 700 plus new subscribers in the last 60 days, I believe. We would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We post a lot of different content there. You can also watch this broadcast daily, Monday through Friday on YouTube as well, if that's the platform you prefer. We're so thankful for all of God's blessings in our life. Many of you, if you watched, I believe it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, a video, the broadcast we did, I mentioned a preacher by the name of Ezekiel that reached out with a pretty rough email in regards to Israel replacement theology. Those that watched this broadcast saw that. And then yesterday you saw where I posted he had reached back out with an email of an apology. Many of you saw the response that I gave him, and he said he would be watching tonight. And so I don't know if you're on Ezekiel, but if you are on, I just want to say publicly that I appreciate your humility. I appreciate your kindness. I appreciate the Lord working in your heart, and I pray God's blessings on your life 100-fold. And Lord willing, soon we will be in New York City doing a broadcast live right there from Times Square. And so, Ezekiel, if you are watching this, I would love for you to be my special guest on that broadcast when I'm in Times Square. And so if you are watching this tonight or whenever you watch this, shoot me an email if you'd be interested. And I'd love to have you on. All right, I'm going to get into this because it's late. I know you guys can't stay up all night. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am tired. And so I'm going to go through this, but I'm not going to speed through it because I have a whole lot of notes and I have a whole lot of things to go over. Now, tonight I want to talk about cloud seeding. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in our nation. There's a whole lot of things that people don't understand. And let me just help you with this. There's a whole lot of gaslighting going on. There's a whole lot of gaslighting going on. There's a whole lot of people, some that we look up to and respect, that are trying to distract our attention and basically say, look over here and look at this, and forget what you're seeing over here. There's a whole lot of crookedness going on, a whole lot of lies, a whole lot of garbage, just to be quite frank with you. And the Spirit of the living God that is living inside of me is grieved by a lot of it. But you must know this, that one day everything's going to come to light. God keeps a flawless record, whether man does or not. It doesn't matter how many files have been erased. It doesn't matter how many files have been, done away with. It doesn't matter how many people say there are no files or this isn't real or cloud seeding's fake or blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. The truth doesn't change just because you believe it or don't believe it. And that's just the facts of the matter. We can argue all night long whether or not you believe the sky's blue. And you can say it's purple, you can say it's pink, you can say it's yellow. And you can convince yourself you're right, but at the end of the day, you're going to get up tomorrow and the sky's still going to be blue. And you're going to get up next month and the sky's still going to be blue. And you're going to get up 5 years from now if the Lord tarries and the sky's still going to be blue. So the point of what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of truth that's trying to be covered up right now. And it's my job not just to come on here and talk about the news and talk about breaking news and to do a Bible study, but it's my job to try to explain some of the things that are confusing to many. There are some that I have gotten messages from since a couple hours ago that said my family or my friends, they think I'm nuts because I have been telling them about cloud seeding. Well, you're not nuts. And I'm just going to tell you that straight up. You're not nuts. And the people that refuse to believe it, just because they don't believe it, doesn't mean that it's not true. So tonight I want to talk about cloud seeding. Do me a favor. Please let me know where you're watching from. And do me an even bigger favor and share the video. I'm going to give you, to start with, an historical background of cloud seeding. Then I'm going to give you factual background of cloud seeding. And then I'm going to give you the associated dangers, I believe, that comes with cloud seeding. I'm going to introduce you to it for those that don't have a clue what I'm talking about. For those that do, just bear with me and take notes. Cloud seeding is a weather modification technique aimed at enhancing precipitation, suppressing hail, dissipating fog by introducing substances into the atmosphere to influence cloud formation and cloud behavior. Now, for those that are on here watching that say this is the nuttiest thing I've ever seen, you just need to hold your tongue and hold your fingers on the keyboard until you hear all of it. Don't say you don't believe something if you've not done your research. Okay. This subject of cloud seeding is absolutely covered in controversy and skepticism from everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal. You'll find people on both sides of the aisle, people that are Christian, people that are not Christian, people on both sides of the aisle that believe that this is true, that don't believe it's true, that think you're some, crazy nut job if you believe it's true, yada, 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 yada. But cloud seeding, listen now, is a scientifically documented practice. It's not something that was just pulled out of thin air somewhere, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just something that somebody just made up, smoked some weed one day and come up with this cloud seeding idea, put it on the internet, and, it went viral, and now all of a sudden they've created something that they made up in their fake imaginary mind while they smoked 7 joints one night. No, this ain't it. This is a scientifically documented practice with a history of this happening over 70 years. Did you just hear what I said? This has been going on for over 7 decades. So it didn't just start last week. It didn't start under the previous administration. It didn't start under Obama. It didn't start back in Clinton when the 90s. No. It didn't happen under Bush. Ladies and gentlemen, this started back 7 decades ago, over 7 decades ago, to be honest. Tonight, I want to provide detailed historical facts, detailed facts, the truth, a background, so to speak, for this cloud seeding. And I want to follow it up by 4 or 5 things, depending on what time I have, of some dangers that are associated with cloud seeding. So with the historical background part, I want you to listen to this. This whole concept dates back a long time. Modern cloud seeding began in the early to mid 20th century. Was right around the time when scientific advancements were really booming in meteorology and atmospheric science. You got to go back to the 1940s, to around 1945, 46, 47, somewhere along in there. There was a man by the name of Vincent Schaefer. And he discovered dry ice seeding, is what they called it. The cloud seeding, modern era of cloud seeding, began around 1946. He was a scientific engineer for General Electric. And at this moment, he was based out of New York. He discovered that dry ice, which is nothing but solid carbon dioxide, that this solid carbon dioxide could induce ice crystal formation in supercooled clouds. This man conducted experiments in a laboratory freezer in New York State. He observed this dry ice that caused water vapor, and it condensed into ice crystals. And according to documentation on November 13th, 1946, he demonstrated it for the first time, this taking place in an open field by dispersing this dry ice from an airplane into a supercooled stratus cloud over the state of Massachusetts. And it created snowfall. Now, all of this is scientifically documented and scientifically happened, ladies and gentlemen. It created snowfall. That moment, he looked at this as a breakthrough in what he had been studying, okay? And it marked the birth of modern day, so to speak, cloud seeding. In practical terms, it provides a method to stimulate precipitation in clouds with temperatures that are below 32 degrees. Now, just stick with me. And please keep commenting, and please let us know where you're watching from, and please share this. So in 1940, somewhere along 2 years after that, so I would say somewhere around 1947, 1948, there was a man by the name of Bernard Vonnegut, Vonnegut. He was a business partner and colleague with Vincent Schaefer at General Electric. And this particular man, Bernard, discovered that silver iodide, a chemical with a crystal structure similar to ice, was even more effective at nucleating ice crystals, is the way that it's worded, the proper way that it's worded. Silver iodide could be dispersed as a smoke or a vapor, making it suitable for large-scale cloud seeding. This is all the way back in the 40s, ladies and gentlemen. This is if it was in 1947, we're almost looking at 80 years ago. The discovery that Bernard came up with in 1947, 48, somewhere along there, literally became kind of the foundation, if you will, of most every cloud seeding program, because it was efficient and it was easy to use. Simultaneously, during that time, the General Electric team, under the direction of a man by the name of Noble, I don't have his last name, I'm sorry, I'm sure you could probably Google it, but I know his first name was Noble. They began to conduct further experiments, but now it was with all of the team at General Electric. These two men, Bernard and Vincent Schaefer, these two men together laid the foundation. Their scientific studies, their experiments, their behind the scenes work now sparked the interest, especially with what Bernard found, sparked the interest of the General Electric company, the whole team. And at this particular time, there was a joint effort, okay, that started between General Electric and the U.S. military to release a project by the name, now listen, don't miss this, Project Cirrus. Project Cirrus, Cirrus. And this partnership between the U.S. military and General Electric, the purpose was to come together in this Project Cirrus to explore weather modification, not just for civilian purposes, but early on when the military got involved, they were interested in doing more research for military operations. They had a whole lot different twist on it than what Vincent Schaefer and Bernard had in their mind. Now with the military involved, they felt like that there was potential there that they could use when it came to war, when it came to the battlefield, when it came to going into enemy territory, so on and so forth. I may get into that a little bit more in a little bit, but for now, let's just keep rocking. So in the 1950s, well, probably not quite the early 50s, probably the late 1940s, somewhere around 47, 48, 49, somewhere along there is when Project Cirrus was implemented and was basically the first major U.S. test, if you want to call it that, with General Electric and the military putting an effort out to test cloud seeding in different weather conditions. They wanted to do more tests to go into thorough analysis of how this would happen in different weather conditions and settings. These experiments, this test, this Project Cirrus, included experimenting, trying to weaken hurricanes. It included trying to increase rainfall in locations in our nation that were experiencing a drought. If you're with me so far, let me know, or people comment, let me know.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So just keep commenting and share this live feed, please. When they first implemented this Project Cirrus, there was a lot of mixed results, though, in the beginning. There wasn't a definitive answer after this first release with the military and General Electric. The results were very mixed. Some trials raised a lot of concerns about unintended consequences. In other words, there was concerns about things that were taking place in them early experiments that raised grave concern, not only with the military, but with General Electric and even Vincent Schaefer and Bernard. In 1947 or 48, I can't remember, but I promise it's one of those 2 years, 47 or 48, there was a hurricane that changed course after cloud seeding that caused specific damage in Georgia alone, and it absolutely caused lawsuits to be filed. And all of this is historically documented, ladies and gentlemen. You just have to study a little bit. So when this hurricane in the late 40s was able to be manipulated by cloud seeding and the damage it did in Georgia, a lot of lawsuits were filed. By the 1950s, we're out of the 40s now. Now we're into the 50s. Commercial. It went from experimental stages to now commercial cloud seeding. The operations for that came to the forefront. Now it's taken off. Now it's getting some traction. Now there's some legs behind it, so to speak. But particularly, most of the cloud seeding was taking place west of the Mississippi River. Not saying it wasn't done some in the east, because it was, but in the early 50s, it really started emerging in the western part of the United States. So whenever we look at this and we see where it began, we see that when we moved into the 50s, they focused a lot of their attention in drought areas like the desert, Arizona, New Mexico, southern Utah, all that area out in there. They wanted to focus on drought areas to see if they could enhance rainfall, if what they were doing would be enough to say, okay, let's manipulate this area here with cloud seeding, with a certain level of cloud seeding. That way we can produce more rainfall in these areas, so on and so forth. There was a company called Weather Modification. I think it was Weather Modification Incorporated was the name of it. Yes, Weather Modification Incorporated. And they offered these cloud seeding services to farmers, utility companies, and even governments during this time. And the whole purpose was with the farmers, to help them in the drought season, with utilities, and with the government. It was far deeper than that. And we'll get into that in a minute. Late in the 50s, early 60s, cloud seeding began to get traction on a global level. We're talking 60 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, 60 to 65 years ago. It first started getting global attention in the Soviet Union, places like China, and even early on, Australia was a big player in cloud seeding. Governments began to invest finances into cloud seeding, and they began to invest to try to boost rainfall for their agriculture, or even, check this out, suppress hail from damaging their crops in the summertime. The Soviet Union, on one particular instance, used cloud seeding to protect Moscow from radioactive fallout after the 1984, 85, 86, somewhere around there, disaster. I believe they called it the Chernobyl. I think it's called Chernobyl, Chernobyl. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Chernobyl disaster. They literally induced rainwater. They induced rain from cloud seeding to wash away all the contaminants before they reached the city. You say that's the craziest thing ever. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all historical facts. You just got to study it. It's all there. In the United States, like states like California, oddly enough, Nevada, and I believe Colorado, may have been New Mexico or Colorado, but it's one of those three. They implemented operational programs during that time that was funded by water districts or even agricultural sectors of their communities, their state. The weather modification program, I think it lasted to around the 80s, somewhere around there, supported research and operations in the west of the Mississippi. So all of this is picking up steam after the 40s into the 50s, and now we're into the 60s, and it's really picking up steam. Now it's on a global level. Now countries like Soviet Union, China, Australia, even a few smaller countries, they've already tested it now. They're already trying to induce more rain and produce more rain in certain areas for their agriculture. They're trying to implement cloud seeding to try to prevent hail from damaging crops. This is happening too in the West all the way back in the 50s and 60s, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This ain't something new. It didn't just start last week. People still commenting.
Oh, yes. A lot of people commenting.
Let me know where you're watching from and give me some feedback if you're getting any help so far. If you're on here and you don't believe what I'm saying, just do some research. It'll take you about a year, but if you sit down and do research, you'll see the same thing I'm seeing. Now I want to move into modern era. And what I call modern era of cloud seeding, I'm going back to 1970. So we're going back to 1970 to now. So you're talking about a 55-year span of cloud seeding in the modern era. The 1970s is when you really started seeing the scrutiny of cloud seeding. The main argument was the efficiency of it. Now, there was a whole lot of other arguments. You know, there was the same people back then as there is now, the people that don't believe nothing. It doesn't matter if you give them Bible. It doesn't matter if you show them facts. It doesn't matter if it's right there in front of their eyes. They're not going to believe it. But then you had those that believed it, but was having a lot of questions on the efficiency of it. And that caused a whole lot of turmoil back in the early 70s. There would be randomized experiments. Everybody and their brothers started experimenting. At one moment in the early 70s, there was an experiment called the National Hail Research Experiment. And it was conducted by the American Meteorological Society. And I believe they partnered with the World Meteorological.
That's a hard one to say.
That's a hard one to say. Say that 3 times real fast. Hey, John, say that 3 times real fast. Meteorological. Oh, my goodness. I need some coffee up in here.
That's great. Same
here. Yeah, I ain't saying that no more. We're going to call them the WMO. Let's just give them an abbreviation. The WMO partnered with them. And it was the WMO that began to raise such grave concerns on cloud seeding. It was back in the early 70s. They issued a series of, negative, some would call just cautious, but if you go back and read them, and I could read them, I don't have time, but they were really negative statements to cloud seeding and their efficiency of them. In their acknowledgement, in their letters, in their articles, they acknowledged that cloud seeding had an extremely huge upside. In other words, there was a lot of potential with it. But they also emphasized that the experiments that had taken place from the late 40s to that time in the 70s was nowhere near sufficient enough, that there was too many gray areas. There was too many loopholes, so to speak. And so it caused a lot of issues. Over time in the 70s, technological advancements improved the delivery methods of cloud seeding. Some of those were like ground-based generators, aircraft, even, listen now, even rockets. You can trace all the way back to the 70s. And even in the late 70s, early 80s, they implemented satellites and radar enhanced monitoring. And when they did that, it allowed them to better target cloud seeding. It allowed them to be able to target clouds that were actually seedable. They could pinpoint clouds that they could induce cloud seeding into to produce the results that they were looking for. But despite these advances, quantifying precipitation increases, manipulating the precipitation, increasing it, all that stuff, it was extremely challenging. Even with all the advancements in the mid 70s and late 70s, it had become so unbelievably challenging. They estimated, from what I have studied, that even then, after all the advancements in the 70s, that there was an optimal condition for cloud seeding that was as high as 20%, which is still pretty low, but it averaged around 5 to 7%. And that's after all of the advancements that they had in the 70s. So let's fast forward to current modern day time. You have 70s, 80s, 90s. It picked up some in the 80s. It started picking up more in the 90s, but after 2000, it really picked up. But now we fast forward to 2025. And I'm certainly not trying to bore you tonight, but if you have studied this subject, this shouldn't be boring. For those that tuned in that don't know anything about it, just stick with me. Cloud seeding now in 2025 is in over 50 countries. 50 countries. That includes the United States. That includes China. That includes India. That includes Russia. And it also includes, as of late, the United Arab Emirates. How ironic is that? China has probably the most extensive program. If it's not the largest, it's in the top 2 of all these 50 nations. China's cloud seeding program employs literally thousands of people. I'm not talking about 1,000. I'm talking about thousands of people. It's an extensive program, and they use airplanes. They use rockets. They use ground-based systems. And all of these systems that they use to enhance rainfall, and they also use to reduce air pollution. Here's an example. So let's just take, for instance, China. They literally, now you can, listen, I know some people's probably saying this is stupid. Are we getting comments like that? Because I feel like we are.
One had to be blocked.
One had to be blocked.
Not very nice.
Listen, Now, you can believe it or not believe it. I'm just giving you the historical facts, ladies and gentlemen, and I've got a whole lot further to go. China in 2008 in the Beijing Olympics literally used cloud seeding clouds. They literally used that to ensure clear skies for the 2008 Olympics. You say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Okay. It's all facts. In the United States, states like Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, they all fund operational programs. Look it up. Call them. They all put finances into operational programs that target winter snowfall to increase water supplies for their reservoirs. It's just a fact. Wyoming has a program called the Wyoming Weather Modification Pilot Program. It started in 2003 or 2004, maybe even 2005. I believe it went on for at least a decade, where they reported modest snowfall increases in the mountain ranges that they targeted. They literally had a decade worth of analytics and numbers to prove where their cloud seeding increased snowfall in those areas to produce more water for their reservoirs. You say, I just don't quite understand. Just keep listening. This same program in Wyoming used the same application to suppress hail in their agricultural regions of their state, to reduce hail in their agricultural regions. Now, that is the historical foundation of cloud seeding. Now I'm going to give you more facts that's based off cloud seeding. If you're with me, let me know in the comments. The whole mindset of cloud seeding is rooted and grounded in atmospheric physics. Now, I'm not a physics guy. My biggest thing in high school is I loved math. I loved physics to an extent, but some of this stuff gets way out there. I'm not a big science guy. I love history. I love all that stuff. I'm a big history buff. I love math. I love a lot of the stuff behind the science of math, so to speak. I love to a certain extent, the physics behind certain things. Way out to where I don't even want to even go down that path. But cloud seeding, for lack of better terms, is grounded in atmospheric physics. And what that means is it's the process of condensation. Everybody knows what that is. And something they called ice nucleation. Now, I had to look up that term. But clouds form when water vapor condenses into droplets or ice crystals. But this particular process requires tiny particles like dust or pollen to initiate. Cloud seeding always introduces artificial nuclei, is what they call it, NUCLEI. Look it up. Artificial nuclei to enhance, or if you will, accelerate these scientific processes. Does that make sense? I'm trying to explain it the best that I possibly can in my redneck way to where we can all understand it. So how does all this work? So like, you remember me talking about just a little bit ago, silver iodide. It's the most common agent of cloud seeding. It is used in what they call cold clouds that are colder than 0 degrees Celsius. And they use those clouds and they induce them to induce ice crystal formation is what they call it. It's dispersed as, I guess the best way to put it would be like a smoke or even a vapor. And they do it with an aircraft. They can do it with a rocket. They can do it with ground generators. They can do it with one of the three. Then you have the dry ice part. You have, this part's used to cool the clouds rapidly. They find a cloud, they introduce the dry ice to it, it cools it down quickly, and that promotes ice crystal formation in super cooled water droplets. I know this sounds like a college class on science, but just bear with me. Then you have something what they called calcium chloride that is used in warm clouds above 0 degrees Celsius. So the silver iodide is used in clouds that's below 0 degrees Celsius. Then you have the calcium chloride that is used in clouds that is above 0 degrees Celsius. And it's used to enhance drops, or if you will, trigger rain. There's a few other chemicals, or what they call agents. They have, in most recent cases, they've experimented with liquid propane, which how crazy is that? It's less common, but they have experimented with liquid propane. Craziest thing I've ever heard. Now, what are the clouds that they target? You've heard me talking about the last few minutes of certain clouds that they target. Well, what kind of clouds do people target when they go to cloud seed? It's what they call organic clouds. It's when they're formed when air rises over like mountains. I live in the mountains in East Tennessee. So when air rises over our mountains, it forms clouds. Those are common most of the time in the late fall, into winter, where there's snowpack, stuff like that. Then they target clouds that are called convective clouds. These are clouds that are associated with like thunderstorms. And they target these type clouds for hail suppression and for increasing rainfall. Then the third type of cloud they target is stratiform clouds. These are what we call layered clouds. They target these for fog dispersal or even for what they call light protection. Now, how do they deliver this to these clouds? You heard me say by aircraft. This is where they take aircraft up and they fly into the clouds and they disperse this stuff directly into the clouds. And that is the most efficient and effective way that they do cloud seeding, is from an aircraft. Then you heard me mention ground generators. This is the least efficient way to do it, but they still use it. They literally take the silver iodide. You heard me just talk about that. That's what they shoot in the clouds that are below 0 degrees Celsius. It's for cool clouds. They literally take that silver iodide and they burn it to create smoke. And they do that so the smoke is carried upward into those clouds by updrafts. And they do it mainly in mountainous regions. That's where the ground generators are the most effective. They're not as effective anywhere else. Then in some cases, yes, they have and do use rockets or artillery to cloud seed. Not in the United States, mainly overseas in countries like Russia and even mainly in China. They use artillery and rockets to do the cloud seeding in clouds that are higher altitude. Some that are so high the plane is not as safe to get to, so on and so forth. So they use rockets and artillery. Now, all of the studies from a scientific evidence that have been done since the 1940s, and it was way lower then, but even to now, even the most recent studies, these same studies suggest that cloud seeding can increase precipitation by a minimum of 5% to 20% in the most ideal conditions. Whether it's super cool clouds with efficient moisture, whether it's the right clouds for the calcium chloride, it's got to be the right, everything's got to be the right condition. It's got to be ideal for you to get 5 to 20%. And it's got to be doggone near perfect for you to get 20%. One of the last studies that I read on from Wyoming was, and it dates back a while, but it was done, and I thought it was interesting. It was back in 2009 or 2010. And this was in Wyoming's Medicine Bow Range, and I've actually been there. Medicine Bow Range in Wyoming. It reported over a year span that they had upwards of a 15% increase in their snowfall due to their cloud seeding program that they had. Now, 15% of snowfall, that's quite a bit.
That's a lot.
I mean, if you have 100 inches of snow in a year regularly in the mountain ranges, you're talking about adding another 15 inches of that.
That's a lot of snow.
That's a lot of snow. We still getting comments?
Oh, yes.
People still sticking with me?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people.
Are people learning?
Oh, yes, everybody's saying how informative.
Okay,
this
if
is.
you're learning, please let me know. I feel like I'm boring people to death because I'm telling you this stuff can bore people, but it's very informational. And I promise you, when you know the facts, people can say all they want to. Well, you're crazy. Well, they have never heard nothing so stupid in my life. I've heard it all, but all they've got's their mouth to run. When you got the facts, then you can fight back with people that are trying to argue with you. There are a lot of limitations with cloud seeding. It's not something that is just definite, that just, it don't matter what conditions there are. It's just, it's a done deal. There are some limitations with it. Success depends on cloud type. It depends on temperature. It depends on moisture content. It depends on wind patterns. All of these are major roles in whether cloud seeding is going to work and be effective or not. Seeding, it's very important you know this. Seeding cannot, I'll repeat, seeding cannot create clouds or produce rain from dry air. It can't do it. There has to be moisture. There has to be moisture. There has to be moisture content. Wind patterns are very, very important. Temperature is unbelievably important. All of these are major factors in whether or not cloud seeding actually works. So if you've got just super dry air, you can't go in, they can't go in and just produce clouds and produce all of this rain from dry air. It just don't work like that. And cloud seeding is also less effective in severe droughts. It's so dry because in a severe drought, you have very few clouds to work with. A place that's not getting no rain, they're not getting any clouds. And if there's no clouds, especially the suitable clouds you got to have, they don't have what they need to be able to seed the clouds with. So all of this is very, very important for their cloud seeding agenda. I believe I've given you a sufficient amount of historical facts mixed with a background of how it works, why they do it, or why they say they do it, and modern day facts of this cloud seeding. Now I want to flip the page because we're already an hour into this and I don't want to keep you up much longer. And frankly, I don't want to keep me up much longer. Say amen right there, John. I want to talk about some dangers associated with cloud seeding. To deny that cloud seeding is not real, to deny that it's, to say it's not real and to say it's fake, with all due respect and all kindness and a heart of humility, you don't know what you're talking about. You've not studied history. You've not looked into it. Or maybe you just don't want to believe it. But cloud seeding is real. And there are dangers with cloud seeding that nobody wants to talk about. And I'm going to give you some of the ones that I feel are dangers of cloud seeding, and you can take and do with it what you wish. The first thing that I think of is the environmental impact of these chemical agents. The primary agent that they use, and you heard me say it a minute ago, the primary seeding agent that they use is silver iodide. That's the main ingredient. They call it an agent, but it's a chemical, silver iodide. That's the main one they use. It's mainly insoluble in water. But the silver iodide is a heavy metal compound. That's what it's made out of. It's a heavy metal compound that carries an extravagant amount of toxicity. So for us rednecks and Southern boys, I'm going to use this term. This silver iodide is loaded with poison. It's loaded with poison. While they do use it in small quantities, it literally measures out to grams per seeding of it. So if they go in and seed a cloud, the amount of silver iodide that they are using in one cloud seeding is really measured in grams. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's not the amount they use one time, it's the amount that accumulates over every time that they're doing it. And this toxin, this poison, is released into our atmosphere every time they do it. The studies have shown, from the people that believe it, have shown that over time, the amount of cloud seeding that is taking place, these grams of silver iodide in our atmosphere, it's building up, it's building up, it's building up, and it eventually makes its way to our waters. It makes its way into our creeks. It makes its way into our lakes. It gets into our soil. It also gets into our snowpack. If you're living in an area where there's a lot of snow. There was a study done in Nevada. We still getting comments?
Oh, yes. A lot of people saying they're learning, and thank you for doing
There's a lot of, there was a study in Sierra Nevada. Is it Sierra? Yeah, Sierra Nevada. That literally showed levels of this silver iodide in their soil. This is a recent study now, in their soil, and it's in the same region where they had been conducting these cloud seeding, whatever you want to call it, journeys, or they're flying up into the clouds and doing this. So these people literally found this silver iodide in the soil. They found it in the water. And over time, the more that they do this, the more that it builds up in our atmosphere, in our creeks, in our soil, yada, 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 yada. Silver, as you should know, is very toxic to aquatic organisms at higher concentrations. So this silver iodide over time also affects our fish. It affects sea creatures. It affects all of that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And you've heard and you've seen stories in recent years, going back, especially the last decade to 15 years, even 20 years, of some of these oceans and some of these bodies of water where there's just dead fish coming out of nowhere. And then even some of our fishermen that have been fishing for certain fish all these years and having no problem finding them, and all of a sudden they're turning up missing and they're not catching as many no more. And there's a shortage and all this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see what's happening here. Silver in general, but especially silver iodide with the high content of the metal that is in it, it is absolutely toxic. And even science tells us that silver can even bioaccumulate itself in animals. It can produce itself in plants and animals, actually. That's where it enters into the food chain. We eat the food, we eat the meat, we eat the cows, we eat the corn, we eat all this stuff. And so short term, for a lot of people, like, well, this is stupid, it don't affect me. But long term, it does affect you. Number two, the second danger in cloud seeding is the unintended weather manipulation. And you say that don't make sense. If they're manipulating, then they're meaning to do it. No, there's some things that take place that they didn't mean to do. What I would call basically weather altering is what I would call it. Cloud seeding can alter weather patterns beyond the target area. So they can literally go in and they can cloud seed an area that they're wanting to do X, Y, or Z in, but it can alter that weather pattern that could potentially cause drought in an area they didn't want to. Or, check this out, it could cause flooding in areas that they didn't intend to, or other disruptions in areas that are downstream or downwind, so to speak, of the area that they're targeting. Ladies and gentlemen, if you knew all of the statistics behind the floods over the last, 8 or 10 days, it's not normal, ladies and gentlemen. It's not normal. I believe they said there was more water that fell in Texas in those few hours than what comes over Niagara Falls in an entire day. That's hard to even fathom, ladies and gentlemen. When you talk about unintended weather altering, that's what I'm going to call it. You look at the downwind effects to that. Seeding, cloud seeding, can deplete moisture from clouds before they reach other areas, which would reduce rainfall downwind. There was also, and I forgot this, there was also a study done in Israel in 1980 that suggested that cloud seeding in one region reduced precipitation in neighboring areas to them by, I believe the article said 10, 15%. If you go back to the Project Cirrus in 1940, whatever it was, 7 or 8, whatever, when that seeded hurricane changed course unexpectedly, that happened in Georgia. You remember me telling you about that? That's when it raised concerns about the unintended weather shifts. And that same concern is still in place today. That particular instance highlighted the danger of cloud seeding and its ability to manipulate, alter weather patterns. Number 3, if you're still with me, let me know. There's a danger in it from an ethical reason and legal conflicts. Cloud seeding raises a lot of ethical issues especially when it affects our families, our communities, our jurisdictions, our lives, all of that, without our consent. I mean, God created the heaven and the earth. He created water. He created wind. He created light. He created darkness. God created all of this. I don't want some liberal, wacky, jacked up, twisted, crazy person trying to manipulate weather. If God wants it to rain, it'll rain. If God wants a drought, he'll send a drought. Somebody say amen. If God wants to send a hurricane and he allows a hurricane, then there's going to be a hurricane. There's so many ethical issues I have with this stuff. And you better believe, ladies and gentlemen, that if you think for 1 second our government is only doing this because they want to help with a drought and help our farmers, ladies and gentlemen, please. Our government is crooked as a dog's hind leg. Both sides are crooked, ladies and gentlemen. A buzzard has two wings, a left wing and a right wing. But the wings, both of them, are still connected to the same buzzard. The whole crowd's crooked as a $3 bill. Amen. Yes. Amen. With cloud seeding, there's no transparency. There's a lack of transparency. There's no public. What's the word I'm looking for? There's no public consultation. There's no, the people aren't involved. There's no clear communication. That's why there's so much division on it, because it's almost like it's a hush-hush deal. You know, I've done thorough research of this, and I still feel like I don't know nothing about it. And I'm having a hard time even explaining it because it's so far out there to me. The lack of communication, the lack of transparency, all the chemtrails, all of this stuff, it's just like, okay. In my thinking, I'm thinking, okay, the same government that has no problem, you know, taking a needle and putting it in the back of a baby skull and killing it at birth. And I want to sit here and believe that they care about my well-being. They want the farmers to grow the best crops, and they want the communities to be taken care of, and they want to produce rain for drought areas and all this. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to be absolutely ignorant to believe anything the government says. All of them. They're all wicked. They're all crooked. I'm telling you, they're all crooked. Every one of them's crooked. They all are hiding something. Every one of them's hiding something. And this whole cloud seeding stuff that started in the 40s, it's not going away. It's only gotten bigger. And if you say, I don't believe it, well, you don't have to believe it. It doesn't change it. It's a fact. As far recent as 2018, this whole cloud seeding thing literally caused tensions between Iran and Israel because they were using cloud seeding to reduce rainfall. Did you hear what I said? Iran literally had tensions raised with them and Israel because Israel was, according to them, was reducing rainfall from cloud seeding. I'm just telling you the facts. Number 4, what is the most dangerous part, I believe, of all of it? The most dangerous part is the health concerns from the chemical exposure. The dispersion of chemicals from an aircraft or a ground generator or even a rocket of silver iodide and calcium chloride, it has to concern you and I about human health. You think for 1 second, now listen, I know and I understand there's a lot of people that are sick that don't have to be sick because they eat garbage all the time. You can't eat Big Macs all the time and Whoppers all the time and pizza all the time and eat ice cream all the time and eat Doritos all the time and drink Mountain Dew all the time and eat at 11 o'clock at night all the time and think you're going to live a healthy life with no problems. Ladies and gentlemen, you are killing yourself. But to think the cloud seeding that's going on around the world and in our nation, where silver iodide and calcium chloride is used every time, to think that that doesn't have some type of a bearing on our health is to literally just be putting your head in the sand. Why are people so sick? Does vaccines have a lot to do with it? You better believe it. Jabbing all these kids when they're born with all these vaccines, and in the first 6 months they're getting all these vaccines at a time. Yeah, there's health risk with that. Eating poorly, there's health risk. But all of this stuff in our atmosphere, ladies and gentlemen, especially the communities that are near these seeding sites, you have an entire risk of breathing in this stuff. These ground-based generators in these seeding sites, you remember me telling you where they take the silver iodide and they burn it and produce the smoke. Well, guess what? That gets into the air, and guess who breathes it in? We breathe it in. There's a toxicity to this silver iodide. It's not good. And chronic exposure to these silver particles, it is scientifically proven that it causes health issues, ladies and gentlemen. Then you have your water supply. This same silver iodide that they use gets into our water supply, and we drink this water. We drink this water. Then you have long-term effects of this yearly chemtrail cloud seeding that's just month after month, year after year. Respiratory issues. I've never lived in a day where everybody has a respiratory problem.
That's right.
You walk into Walmart now and everybody's coughing, everybody's wheezing, nobody can breathe. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Autoimmune disease.
Autoimmune disease? You say you're just paranoid. No, I'm not. Listen, I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. I'm going to die when it's my time to go. I'm just trying to give you information because I see all the time people fussing all the time. One of the reasons I am doing this tonight is because I'm tired of hearing people fuss over it. Everybody back and forth. Somebody posts, well, I've been studying this. I believe in cloud seeding. Then somebody gets on there and say, well, you're a nut job. You're an idiot for believing that. And then this person comes back and it's just nothing but one big fight between everybody. And so now I figure, okay, I'm going to use this platform that God's entrusted me with to give the truth of cloud seeding. And then for those that don't believe it after this, then you're just willfully choosing to be ignorant. And those that do believe it, hopefully I'm giving you info you didn't know that you can go back and listen to. Number 5, I'm done. There's, how do I put this? I think one of the biggest dangers of cloud seeding is the money that is being spent for this junk. We are $38 trillion in debt. The truth be known, we're probably 62 to 63 trillion. Our debt clock is spinning out of control in the wrong direction. And our nation, our communities, our states are funding cloud seeding. Wyoming, listen now, Wyoming itself, just in the last year, has spent $14 million on cloud seeding. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our tax dollars at work. I can find a whole lot better things for my tax dollars to go to than to fly up in an aircraft and put some silver iodide into a cloud. And it bears the question, why are they so adamant on spending this money and doing this cloud seeding? What are they trying to do? Well, we've heard people like Bill Gates and all his cronies talking about wanting to decrease the population control. These bunch of, oh my goodness. I think Bill Gates is a reprobate. So you have all of these wealthy, liberal individuals partnering with government to seed clouds with silver iodide and calcium chloride, and they mask it like they do everything else, almost as if, well, this is a gift to the people. We're just trying to help the farmers. We're just trying to help people that's in a drought. We're just trying to help. But ladies and gentlemen, our nation is the sickest it's ever been. People around the world are. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna get in the flesh. I'll say this: for the people that say it's fake, it's absolutely historically, scientifically, factually proven. Cloud seeding is not fake. It's real. 1,000% real. 1,000% facts. Believe it, don't believe it. It don't matter to me. I'm telling you, it's absolute facts. Facts. Cloud seeding is a real thing. Weather manipulation is a real thing. And it's not something they've just come up with in the modern day era, ladies and gentlemen. They were doing this in 1947. Now it's in 50 countries around the world where there are active governmental programs that have partnered with private equity firms, private partnerships, private businesses, where they have these programs that are daily experimenting and daily literally cloud seeding, trying to build their knowledge and technology in this. And let me just say this, so is the military. They are involved in this, ladies and gentlemen. China's military, Russia's military, Iran's military, Israel's military, United States military, all of this cloud seeding, the military is right in the middle of it as well. And they don't care. The United States military does not care about droughts. They don't care about the farmers. I'm telling you, they don't. Iran don't care about your farmers. They don't care about, listen, there's more to this than what they will tell you. You say, well, man, that's depressive. No, I'm not depressed. I'm not discouraged. I'm still just as saved right now as I was before I started this broadcast. I'm still in love with Jesus. I still got peace that passeth all understanding. But I refuse to sit back and see people just say crazy things just because they just don't want to believe it. Cloud seeding is a fact. We're almost 80 years into this, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fact. Cloud seeding is a fact. Any comments? Any questions?
Yes.
Come over here and help me here.
Lots and lots of comments. Everybody saying how informative it is, how much information.
If this has helped you tonight
learning.
To learn anything, let me know in the comments right now. John, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Have you learned anything tonight?
Along with a whole bunch of other people.
I tell you what, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to talk about this because it seems boring to most people. But I'm telling you, whenever I even mentioned it, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to test it and see. And I put out a post a little while ago. I guess it's been 3 hours ago. I made a post. I said, climate change is a hoax, but cloud seeding is real. And just the amount of response in a short period of time, and then the amount of fighting. Oh, my goodness. And the amount of messages and emails of people literally losing their mind. So you know what? I'm like, now it's time. All the studying, all the research, it's time to do it. I don't know if I explained it clearly enough, and I don't know if I explained it profoundly enough. And I definitely have another 700 pages of notes to go through, but I'm tired and you're tired and it's almost 11 o'clock.
One lady, Miss Leslie, she said, I didn't believe it before, but after listening to all this, now I do.
What's her
believe it."
name?
Her name is Leslie.
Leslie, if you're still on here, I'm glad that what I taught tonight literally opened your eyes to the truth. It doesn't mean we panic. It doesn't mean that we go around wearing masks. It don't mean you go get one of them little things that's got the filters on the end of it and put it over your face and wear it everywhere you go. It doesn't mean you put a hood on and you put a plastic suit on and I'm not. This whole thing's not to make people scared. It is to tell you in the midst of all the deception that what the truth is. It's just the truth. And people can believe it or not believe it. What people do with the truth ain't my problem. It's not my problem. It's my job to tell the truth and then just let the chips fall where they may.
Miss Cindy has a question. She's like, so how do we as a nation shut it down?
Well, how we shut it down, there was a time that I would say that we shut it down by voting in certain people or the right people. What I'm about to say is probably not going to set well with many, but I don't think at this point that we can shut it down. I don't think we can. Now, can God intervene and can God do a miracle? Sure, he can. God's God. He can do what he wants to do. But I think at this point in stage in the end times, I don't think that we can stop anything like that. It's too deep now. I mean, when you talk about China literally employs, I think it's somewhere around 11 or 12,000 people that do nothing but do cloud seeding. That's all they do, cloud seed. They work in that program and China funds it. Same thing with Russia and same thing with Iran. I mean, yes, we bombed their nuclear facilities, but I promise you, Iran ain't going nowhere, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody's talking like, man, Iran's put back for 50 years. They're crawling under a rock. No. Iran is a main player in the end times. Listen, Iranians are not dumb, ladies and gentlemen. People think people in Iran are just dumb and just live under a rock. Those people are some of the smartest people on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. Now, they can't outrun bunker buster bombs. But they ain't dumb. Any other questions?
Miss Patsy said, I half believed it, the other half hoped it wasn't true, but why is science trying to play God?
I don't think the right question is not why is science trying to play God, because God created science. God created everything. He created DNA. He created all. So God created science. It's not that science is trying to play God. It's that people's trying to play God. There's a difference in that. Science is science. It's when people put their hands on it and try to manipulate it. That's where the problem comes in, because listen, I said it the other day, a wicked world has wicked people. Wicked people have wicked hearts. Wicked hearts have wicked intentions. And with those wicked intentions, it always produces wicked and evil results and consequences every single time. So the people that would say, well, they're just trying to enhance and help the weather. No, there's a nefarious intention behind it. Now, you may have somebody in the program that literally, they really want to help. But for the most part, what comes out of it is never good. It's never good. Any other questions, comments?
And just everybody is so thankful for you sharing this. It needs to get out there. So
thank you for sticking with me for an hour and 20 minutes on this beautiful Thursday night. I hope this Voice of Hope Now broadcast, I hope it was informative. It's a little different than what I've done. We'll probably do more stuff like this in the future on things that I actually know something about. If I don't know something about it, I'll study it, and I'll never do a broadcast till I know what I'm talking about. I love y'all. Thank you for being my friend. Pray for us. We're out of town, and a lot going on. But pray for us. Soon we will be announcing the date of our Washington, D.C. broadcast and our New York City broadcast. And don't forget our upcoming event. We'll be preaching at the Open Heavens Conference at Global Vision Bible Church in Lebanon, Tennessee. We also have our marriage conference coming up. We also have our tent crusade coming up, dedicating the new tent. You can find out all this information on our app or on our website, drharrison.tv, drharrison.tv. I hope y'all sleep well. I hope you rest well. I hope tomorrow is an unbelievably blessed day. And I want you to know that I love you. And Jesus loves you. And there is absolutely nothing that you can do about it. Thank you for being my friend. And Lord willing, we'll see you next time.